Welcome to our exploration into A Course in Miracles in Practice. Today, we are immersing ourselves in Lesson 345, which gives us a really profound and immediate framework for the day.
It does. The lesson's core request is beautifully simple, but it's also fundamentally challenging. It asks us to offer only miracles today.
And the intention here isn't about conjuring some kind of dramatic external event. It's more about adopting an inner stance, a decision that sets the tone for your entire experience.
Exactly. It's allowing your outlook, your peaceful outlook, to shape what is received back.
Now, when the Course talks about giving and receiving as being inseparable, it's speaking directly to how the mind operates. It's a law of the mind.
It reminds us that whatever interpretation we extend, whatever quiet thought we offer, it circles back to us as our own lived experience, instantly and infallibly.
This exploration will focus on how that law of love translates from a philosophical idea into a deeply practical experience.
Right. How does this concept of peace become actionable? How does it become verifiable, specifically in those small, ordinary moments of a really demanding day?
Before we read today's lesson, we do invite you to reflect on your own practice. How is your understanding of the Course deepening, or maybe what challenges are you encountering?
We really appreciate your feedback and your insights. They often help us clarify the meaning behind these complex ideas. You can email us at acim@theworldharmonyproject.org.
Our handle on TikTok and YouTube is @The World Harmony Project, and we always welcome comments on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
So now let's turn our attention to the lesson itself. Lesson 345.
Lesson 345. I offer only miracles today, for I would have them be returned to me. Father, a miracle reflects your gifts to me, your Son. And everyone I give returns to me, reminding me the law of love is universal. Even here, it takes a form which can be recognized and seen to work. The miracles I give are given back in just the form I need to help me with the problems I perceive. Father, in heaven it is different, for there are no needs. But here on earth, the miracle is closer to your gifts than any other gift that I can give. Then let me give this gift alone today, which, born of true forgiveness, lights the way that I must travel to remember you.
Peace to all seeking hearts today. The light has come to offer miracles to bless the tired world. It will find rest today, for we will offer what we have received.
That phrasing, I would have them be returned to me, it really anchors us in the mechanism of this practice.
It does. It's not a request for some future reward. It's an acknowledgement of a universal law that's already in effect. A law that's profoundly down to earth, even though we often don't notice it.
Exactly. This isn't some mystical revelation. It's a description of how human psychology actually functions when you see it through the Course's lens.
You really don't have to be a student of metaphysics to recognize this principle at work. For instance, if you approach a difficult conversation with a consciously kinder, more open attitude, you immediately perceive the situation itself differently. Your internal state changes the whole landscape of that moment.
And the opposite is also true. If you walk into any interaction already carrying a grievance, already expecting trouble, your internal state prepares for conflict.
You feel it, don't you? That tension, that slight physical bracing, the mental focus narrowing. You feel all of that internally before a single word is even exchanged.
So the lesson is asking us to deliberately shift that internal stance. Let's define the law of love as it's presented here.
It's the statement that when a loving interpretation is extended meaning, when you choose clarity and safety over fear and judgment, your mind experiences a direct, immediate, internal return.
And that return takes a form that directly addresses the problem you perceived you had. So if the problem was perceived as a threat, the return's relief. If the problem was perceived as confusion, the return is clarity. It's a correctional mechanism.
Critical clarification here, and this is where many students can get confused, is about where that return operates. The law of love states that the return is only experienced if a loving interpretation was extended.
And that return operates within the mind that chose the interpretation. This leads right into the core misunderstanding,
which is believing the law of love dictates external behavior. People so often assume that if they extend kindness, they are guaranteed to receive kindness from the world.
Or if they act with patience, the world has to reward them with patience.
And the Course simply does not teach that. It's a very common misinterpretation to think our specific external behavior dictates the world's specific external behavior.
So we have to be very clear. Acting lovingly does not guarantee kind treatment from others. And acting poorly does not guarantee external punishment. The world maintains its own chaotic, neutral trajectory.
That's such a vital distinction, because if you believe the external world must mirror your kindness, you immediately set yourself up for disappointment, for renewed grievance when it doesn't.
If I perform an act of service hoping for gratitude and I get indifference back, my disappointment is rooted in that expectation, not in the internal law.
The law of love operates solely in your own mind. The inner state you offer becomes the inner state you live in. So when you extend a loving interpretation, the return shows up as clarity, a sense of kindness, and safety. And that's irrespective of how the outside world reacts.
Let's ground this with a scenario, one that's designed to clarify this internal mechanism versus the external reaction.
Okay. Imagine you've just had a genuinely bad experience. Maybe something real expensive has broken, causing you significant financial stress or just a huge inconvenience.
And you're carrying that psychological residue with you.
So here's the setting we can analyze. You're still simmering from the loss, and the very next person you come across, you inadvertently snap at. This is a very real, everyday thing. It's how uncorrected fear projects itself.
Okay, let's unpack this through two scenarios where the external response is different. We can see how the law of love stays consistent.
Scenario 1. You enter your home, still charged with frustration. Your partner says something to you, maybe asks a simple question, and you snap at them.
But your partner, being a student of the course, recognizes the tension. And they respond gently. Maybe you say, "Whoa, calm down," and place a loving hand on your arm.
The immediate question that confuses people is this calm response from the partner, the law of love, returning your gift?
And the answer is absolutely not. This is a perfect example of what the law of love is not.
Exactly. In the scenario, you, the subject, extended fear and irritation. Your partner's calm, gentle response is purely the result of their internal practice. It's their choice of interpretation in that moment.
So their reaction is their miracle, their chosen state of peace, which they are extending. It is not a magical boomerang of love that was triggered by your act of anger.
Precisely. Exactly. And here's why. Since you didn't extend love, the law isn't operating. Your partner's behavior reflects their practice. The partner's reaction isn't a magical boomerang of your earlier action.
Now let's contrast that with scenario 2. This is the one that often reinforces the misunderstanding that the world punishes or rewards us.
Scenario 2. You enter a store and a customer mistakes you for a worker and asks you where something is. You inadvertently snap at them, saying you don't work there. They respond in kind, calling you a rude name.
Here, many people would say, "See? I extended fear by snapping, and the world mirrored it back with an insult." It seems like a simple tit-for-tat justice.
But we have to remember the course's definition. You extended fear. The customer, operating completely from their own state of mind, responded with fear, which they expressed as an insult.
The key insight is that the external insult is neutral. In terms of the law of love, it is not your return.
Your return happened instantly inside your mind the moment we snapped. That immediate internal experience of guilt, maybe shame, confusion, tension, that is the direct, instantaneous outcome of your unloving interpretation.
I get the lesson you were teaching her. The law of love doesn't say the world mirrors your tone. It says your mind experiences the outcome of what you extend. By snapping, you chose to reinforce a belief that you were a victim of circumstances.
And the immediate return was the psychological imprisonment of guilt or tension. The customer's reaction, whether it's kind or cruel, it only serves as the neutral backdrop for your mind's projection. That tense inner state is the result. That's where the law operates.
This clarification is so essential, it completely removes the world from the equation of our peace. We can't control the world, but we are instantly and totally responsible for the return we experience internally.
So now let's apply this. Let's rethink those same scenarios, but this time focusing on the internal shift, the miracle of perception.
Okay, back to the first scenario. You walk into your home, rattled from the broken item. Your partner says something neutral. You feel that surge of irritation, that urge to snap.
But instead of externalizing the anger, you pause. That pause is the moment of choice.
In that split second, you choose to offer a loving interpretation, not toward your partner, but toward your own internal state. You recognize and accept, I'm carrying stress from earlier. This has nothing to do with my partner.
Then the action follows from that internal shift. You might respond with an honest line, something like, I'm a little on edge right now, sorry if I sound sharp.
This is an extension of love toward yourself, acknowledging your state without projecting blame. The law of love is now demonstrated because you extended clarity and kindness toward your own internal experience.
And the return shows up instantly. Before your partner even has time to reply, the tension fades, the psychological burden lifts, the interaction proceeds without conflict, and you feel safety return.
And their external response is irrelevant to the miracle you've already received. The other response might be kind, neutral, or distracted. Doesn't matter. The return came from your own willingness to see clearly, not from their behavior. This is the law of love in action. The kindness you extended became the state you experienced.
Now let's apply that to the second scenario, the stranger in the store. You feel that irritation rising because they mistake you for a worker. It feels like an imposition on your already frustrating day.
Again, you execute the internal pause. Instead of reacting, you silently describe your state. I'm carrying leftover frustration, and I'm choosing not to blame the stranger for it.
That recognition breaks the momentum. You can then reply calmly, neutrally, I don't work here.
You extended a gentler interpretation toward yourself, and the immediate return is that the spike of irritation passes without adding another layer of stress or grievance to your day.
And the customer's response is still entirely external and non-determining. They might smile, they might ignore you, they might even snap back. But none of that affects the internal miracle you already received the moment you chose clarity over reaction.
The miracle is that shift in thinking, the correction of perception. We aren't asking for the world to change. We're asking our minds to stop interpreting the world as a source of grievance.
Speaking of opportunities, I had a ridiculous one the other day. I was in my car and couldn't find my phone. I felt myself starting to panic, but I concentrated on checking under the seats, moving things around, opening the console, even the glove box when I knew I hadn't put it in there. It was too dark to see everywhere, so I had to use the flashlight on my phone just to dig around. And then I realized I was using the phone's flashlight to look for the phone. It was in my hand the entire time.
That moment of realization.
I sat there laughing. In the past, I would have berated myself, but I didn't do that this time. I was kind to myself, and the immediate return was kindness and grace that allowed me to see humor instead of failure.
The true return wasn't finding the phone. The true return was the psychological shift that let you enter the house with a smile instead of feeling stressed and guilty. That change in thinking is the miracle you received.
This principle of the internal shift leads us right into a crucial area of study. The necessity of addressing grievances directly, which is emphasized in the lessons leading up to this one.
The temptation to pretend we're fine when we're not, to try and force that return of love by putting on a happy face.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was at one time. I can't change it, so I'll just live with it. I'm fine. But we just had a couple of recent lessons where we talked about the importance of addressing grievances directly and not sweeping them under the rug.
We did. Lesson 333. Forgiveness ends the dream of conflict here. That lesson tells us grievances are the exact form of conflict we're trying to escape, and we can't escape them while we're holding them in place.
If we just cover them up with a veneer of superficial peace, the conflict doesn't end. It just goes underground, where it continues to fester and project fear.
And the law of the mind still dictates that the unloving interpretation, the grievance, is being extended. So the tension remains the return you experience.
Forgiveness requires honesty. It demands that we look directly at the grievance as we hold it. The dream of conflict can only be undone where it's being maintained, which is in our mind.
Lesson 334 clarifies this further. It talks about grievances covering the truth, like a tarp obscuring a treasure. The truth, our natural state of peace, cannot be uncovered while the grievance remains in place, actively blocking the light.
This means external, performative acts designed to manipulate the environment are spiritually counterproductive.
And that doesn't mean bringing freshly baked bread to your neighbor to cajole them into being quiet when you're trying to sleep. That kind of action suggests a belief that your happiness depends on the outside world changing its behavior.
Right. The Course requires that we look at what we're holding against someone or against a situation. Forgiveness can't happen where we refuse to even acknowledge the perceived offense.
Think about being upset over something simple. A friend losing an expensive thermos, you loan them. On the surface, the grievance is about the object.
But the Course asks us to look deeper. The thermos is just the stage for your interpretation. The real core of the grievance is the meaning you attach to the loss. Maybe you feel disregarded, or you believe your friend was careless and therefore disrespectful.
Or maybe the grievance is, now I have to do without this item, and that's unfair. Whatever that inner story is, it's your interpretation, and that's what you have to address. The item itself is neutral.
Recognizing that the anger stems entirely from the interpretation in your own mind, not from the other person's action, is an invaluable tool. When we truly see the internal interpretation, we stop attacking the external person.
And then we can choose the miracle of releasing that burden. This doesn't mean we tolerate abuse or disregard for our boundaries.
It just means we can protect our belongings or set boundaries or address poor behavior without simultaneously clutching a grievance and destroying our own peace. The shift is from "I am angry because of you" to "I am choosing an interpretation that generates anger."
When we stop adding these layers of judgment to every interaction, even small, frustrating moments like searching for the phone, they just become passing events, not judgments on our character. We extend kindness to ourselves, and peace is returned.
We should address a really significant point of confusion that often comes up with Lesson 345. Specifically the line, "I offer only miracles today, for I would have them be returned to me."
That concept of something returning to you, and especially a desired outcome like a miracle, it inevitably draws a comparison to the modern concept of the law of attraction.
It's a natural comparison, but it's deeply misleading when you look at it through the framework of the Course. The Course is definitively not a system for manifesting external events or for attracting material desires.
If a law of attraction says thoughts are energy that pulls corresponding circumstances toward you, the law of love operates on a completely different plane. It's only concerned with correcting your perception about the circumstances that are already here.
The miracle is the shift in interpretation, that instant internal correction that replaces a fear-based thought with a love-based one. This is why the lesson says, "The miracles I give are given back in just the form I need to help me with the problems I perceive."
And that return is purely psychological and experiential. Relief, clarity, a lack of tension, a sense of safety. The return is never guaranteed to be an external object or a new job. The need being addressed is the need for peace, which is always internal.
The confusion gets worse because of lines that seem to overlap with manifestation language. People focus on the idea from other Course texts that I will receive whatever I request.
In the Course, request means the internal choice of the teacher, Holy Spirit or ego, not a desire for a specific outcome. The Course never bases anything on vibration, metaphysics of energy, cosmic response, or manipulating the external world.
It's an internal choice of direction. When the Course discusses what we receive, it means we receive the experience of the teacher we chose. Choose the ego's thought system, and you receive the experience of guilt and fear. Choose the Holy Spirit's guidance, you receive peace and clarity.
You can see this difference so clearly in a practical application. Let's say you have a big event planned, like a wedding, and you're worried about the weather. A miracle, as defined by the Course, cannot stop the rain on your wedding day.
But the miracle can clear the fear that made the rain feel like a disaster. The emotional charge, the self-pity, the judgment that the day is ruined, those are the problems the miracle addresses. The external situation, the rain, remains neutral. But your internal experience shifts from panic to acceptance. That's the function of the miracle.
This brings us to the lesson's powerful concluding statement about offering miracles to bless the tired world. I used to picture that tired world as the sum of all external suffering. Wars, poverty, crisis.
But if the world is the projection of the mind, then the world is tired because the mind projecting it is tired of conflict.
And when the Course says the world will find rest today, it's stating that the rest comes from our withdrawal of judgment. When we stop lending our minds to the ego's conflict, the external projection of conflict, the world finds rest.
This aligns perfectly with the metaphysical framework. God would never give attributes to an illusion because that would make the illusion real. So the suffering, the tiredness, the conflict, they can't be inherent attributes of the world itself. They are only attributes we have given it through our interpretation.
The miracle withdraws that attributed conflict. By offering only miracles, only corrections of perception, we allow the burden we carry to drop. We give our own mind rest.
And the promise of Lesson 345 is that the rest we give is the rest we immediately receive.
We have had a thorough exploration today, looking deeply at the framework of Lesson 345 and its foundational principles.
We really detailed what the law of love truly means. We clarified that the return of the miracle is a purely internal mechanism. It's clarity, relief, or peace, regardless of how other people respond.
We used everyday scenarios to show how the return of fear, as guilt or tension, happens instantaneously in the mind that chooses the unloving interpretation. It confirms the law's infallibility.
We also explored how this differs from the law of attraction and also discussed why the Course asks us to face our grievances honestly instead of pretending we're fine, so forgiveness can work where the conflict really lives in our minds.
And finally, we detailed that important distinction between the law of love and the law of attraction, clarifying that the Course is focused on correcting perception about existing events, not manifesting external outcomes.
We encourage you to share your practice, your insights, or any feedback you might have about this process. Your communication helps us continuously refine and clarify the meaning of these teachings in a practical context.
A quick shout out to all the listeners who reach out and share their practice. We are truly grateful for your engagement. We hope you will join us again as we continue this journey in practice.
As you move through your day, remember the lesson's commitment. Today, try repeating that quiet determination to yourself, regardless of the external circumstances.
Today I offer peace in every place I stand, knowing I receive the same peace as my own experience.